You feel this moment.
I wouldn't die for an insurance company. Get in. There's water in the trunk.
Crime 101 is shaping up to be a slick, tense crime thriller that leans heavily into realism, psychology, and the quiet patterns behind high-end criminal behavior. The story is rooted in the idea that major jewel thefts on the West Coast are not random acts of chaos but carefully planned operations that follow a strict set of rules. These rules, referred to as Crime 101, suggest that experienced criminals never cross state lines, never rush a job, never use unnecessary violence, and always blend into ordinary life. This concept drives the entire narrative and gives the film a grounded, methodical tone rather than a loud, explosive crime spectacle. The movie focuses on how law enforcement studies patterns, habits, and small behavioral details to track criminals who believe they are invisible. At the center of the film is a seasoned detective who has spent years studying elite jewel thieves and the unspoken code they follow. He is portrayed as sharp, patient, and deeply committed to his work. Someone who understands that catching smart criminals requires thinking like them rather than chasing them with brute force. His character represents old-school discipline mixed with modern investigative instincts, and his obsession with the Crime 101 philosophy becomes both his greatest strength and his biggest burden. As he follows a string of robberies that seem disconnected on the surface, he becomes convinced that they are all linked by the same mastermind, who knows the rules better than anyone else. Opposite the detective is a charismatic and physically imposing character who quickly becomes the prime suspect. This character lives a seemingly normal life, runs legitimate businesses, and avoids attention, perfectly fitting the profile of someone who understands Crime 101. He is calm, controlled, and intelligent, and the tension between him and the detective forms the emotional backbone of the movie. Their relationship is less about loud confrontations and more about quiet stares, subtle mind games, and conversations loaded with unspoken meaning. The film plays heavily on the idea that the most dangerous criminals are the ones who never look like criminals at all. The cast brings together a powerful mix of established stars and intense character actors, which adds weight and credibility to the story. Chris Hemsworth takes on a role that moves away from flashy heroics and instead focuses on restraint, menace, and intelligence. His performance is expected to highlight a colder, more calculating side, showing that strength does not always come from physical dominance but from control and patience. Mark Ruffalo plays the determined detective, bringing his trademark depth and emotional complexity to a character who is both confident in his methods and haunted by the possibility of being wrong. Barry Keoghan adds an unpredictable edge to the cast, playing a character whose loyalty and motivations remain unclear, keeping the audience guessing about where he truly stands. Supporting roles are filled with characters from law enforcement and the criminal underworld, each contributing to the larger picture of how organized crime operates at a high level. These characters are not exaggerated caricatures but grounded individuals with their own fears, ambitions, and flaws. The film takes time to show how investigations affect personal lives, careers, and mental health, reinforcing the idea that crime is not just about money or power but about the long-term consequences of obsession on both sides of the law. The plot unfolds slowly and deliberately, favoring tension over action. Instead of rapid-fire chases and constant shootouts, the movie builds suspense through surveillance, interrogations, and quiet moments where small details become crucial. A minor mistake, a glance held for too long, or a routine that slightly changes can signal everything. As the detective gets closer to proving his theory, the suspect becomes increasingly aware that the walls are closing in, leading to a psychological chess match where each move is carefully calculated. The audience is invited to analyze clues alongside the characters, making the experience immersive and intellectually engaging. As the investigation deepens, the story explores themes of identity and duality. Characters are forced to confront who they really are versus who they pretend to be. The criminal believes he is in control because he follows the rules, but the detective begins to question whether strict adherence to patterns can become a weakness. The movie suggests that systems and rules, while useful, can never fully account for human unpredictability. This tension between order and chaos becomes one of the film's central ideas, driving the narrative toward an inevitable confrontation. Visually, the film is designed to feel grounded and realistic. Urban landscapes, quiet coastal highways, and sterile interrogation rooms create a cold, controlled atmosphere that mirrors the mindset of both the detective and the criminal. The camera work emphasizes stillness and observation, often lingering on faces and environments to let tension build naturally, rather than overwhelming the viewer with fast cuts. The film trusts silence and pacing to do the heavy lifting, reinforcing its mature tone. The trailer gave audiences a clear sense of what kind of movie. This is without revealing too much of the plot. It focused on mood, character dynamics, and the core concept of Crime 101 rather than flashy action. Short lines of dialogue hinted at the cat-and-mouse relationship at the heart of the story, while brief shots of surveillance, luxury jewelry, and quiet confrontations established the stakes. The music used in the trailer was restrained and ominous, signaling that this film is more about tension and intelligence than spectacle, from the footage shown. The chemistry between the lead actors stands out immediately. The trailer suggests that much of the film's power comes from conversations rather than explosions, with carefully written dialogue that carries double meanings. Each character seems aware that they are being watched, judged, and tested, which adds a constant sense of unease. The trailer also avoids revealing the final outcome, preserving mystery and encouraging viewers to focus on the journey rather than the destination. In terms of release timing, the film has been positioned as a major theatrical crime drama rather than a small experimental project. The planned release places it in a period where audiences are often drawn to serious, adult-oriented storytelling, suggesting confidence from the studio in the film's quality and appeal. The anticipation around its release has been driven largely by the cast, the source material, and the reputation of the creative team involved, all of which point toward a smart, character-driven thriller. Behind the scenes, the movie benefits from a director known for blending realism with dramatic tension. The approach taken emphasizes authenticity, from how investigations are conducted to how criminals operate within believable limits. This commitment to realism helps the film stand out in a genre often dominated by exaggerated action and improbable scenarios. The adaptation stays true to the spirit of its source material while expanding it into a feature-length narrative with greater emotional depth. Crime 101 ultimately presents itself as a film about patterns, patience, and perception. It challenges the audience to consider how much of life is governed by rules and how dangerous it can be to believe those rules are unbreakable. By focusing on intelligent characters who respect each other's abilities, the movie creates conflict that feels earned and compelling. Every conversation, every decision, and every silence carries weight, making the experience gripping from start to finish. As anticipation continues to build, the film stands out as a crime story that values brains over brawn and tension over noise. With a strong cast, a sharp premise, and a commitment to realism, Crime 101 promises a thoughtful and intense exploration of the thin line between law and crime. It is a story where knowledge becomes a weapon, routine becomes a risk, and the smallest details can bring even the smartest criminal down.